cousins in India thinking we living the life out here in America, you know, just enjoying life with our money and everything. It's literally my first day off in 6 days. I'm suffering from crippling depression and anxiety. I have not gotten my eyebrows done in I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, 4 weeks maybe. And my room looks like this. Oh yeah, that's Q-tips next to my laptop.
Hello everyone, it's Emmanuel Cooke. Today we will be reacting to a new video, and I hope that you guys enjoy the video.
I live and work in Spain, making roughly 1,000 euros a month, which in America is nothing, but in Spain is more than enough to live. I only work 16 hours a week, and I'm able to afford a super nice apartment in the city center of Madrid. Food costs me 20 euros a week. My electric bill is like 30 euros a month. I don't have to worry about gas or a car payment or insurance because the public transportation system is so world class that you don't even need a car at all. Madrid is like the New York of Spain, except if you were living in the city center of New York, you'd have to be making literally at least 5 grand a month, and that's extremely lowballing it. Just their way of life in general, like, is so much more relaxed and just taking time to enjoy life rather than just working constantly. They literally have a siesta in the middle of the day where they take 3 hours to go nap or go to a coffee shop to hang out with friends. Like, the American mind cannot fathom. It's just crazy to me because, like, you've been told growing up your whole life that America is the best country in the world. That's just so far from the truth. And it's, like, very obvious how much worse it is now that I've gotten out.
I have to work 60 hours a week and make $80,000 a year to make ends meet.
That video is exactly the reason why I moved out of the United States. I was working 60-hour weeks, getting paid $60,000 a year with my mortgage payment of over $3,000 a month. I had to rent out rooms in my home in order not to just sink and get into debt. I saw myself living that life where constantly all you do every day, work, go home, sleep, work, go home, sleep, work, go home, sleep, work, go home, sleep, and you get one day off, and then every day is the same. Collect your paycheck, save up for a vacation, go on the vacation. While you're on the vacation, you're just stressed out because you know the vacation's costing you money that you have to go back and make at the job that you hate because it takes up all your time. I found myself in that cycle, and I decided no. I said, no, I'm not going to live it. And I literally quit my job, literally put my house up for sale, sold almost everything, and hopped on a flight. And ever since I've done that, I am happier than I have ever been. I see an entirely new life for myself now.
America is not what it once was. I've got some bad news for people who don't travel internationally. The world hates us, okay? We're not the big dogs. We don't have the clout that we once had. We aren't even, like, statistically on top of anything, education or anything anymore. And I've traveled a lot internationally. Over COVID, obviously, I stopped. And there's always been an underlying tone that America is dangerous. But you know, we run Hollywood, so a lot of the media that is consumed by people in other countries is still American. However, I'm on my first international trip since COVID, and it has gotten worse. I have heard from every nationality that America is dangerous, but I arrived in Indonesia, which is a country that, you know, a lot of people aim to get out of and go to America. And the first thing that my taxi driver says to me is that he's afraid of America because of all the poppy seeds that we're taking and all the jazz powder that people are using. And he's convinced that people are walking around the US like zombies. Because that's what's on the internet. That's what these people are seeing. And I think it's a really big lesson if you are sheltered and are not leaving the US. We don't got it. Like, we don't got it anymore. People don't want to live in America. People aren't eager to live in America. When I was in Europe, a lot of the kids said their parents wouldn't let them go to America because they were afraid they were going to get popped by the police. Like, those are the fears. The only fear that Americans have when their children travel overseas is that they're going to be, like, in the movie Taken, which is a very small possibility. And they just use that as a fear. I don't even, like, that's not really even a founded fear. People aren't taking Americans when we go, because you know how big of a hell case they would raise if some little white girl went missing? That's not what's happening. But what is happening is other people from other nations are going to America and bad things are happening to them. So just a reminder, we ain't shit. We ain't shit.
I just saw a video and it wouldn't let me stitch it, but this girl was talking about how the U.S. passport just went from being the 6th most powerful passport to being 39th. And now there are certain countries that require us to apply for or purchase a travel visa in order to enter. They know that Americans are about to scatter like roaches. Americans are about to be the immigrants that they constantly complain about. Things are so bad here. They can't trust us to want to go back home. I don't blame them. They gotta put themselves first. The downfall of America goes crazy.
I don't know if y'all be reading and paying attention to the news, but the economy is in a terrible spot right now. I mean, you got major retail stores that are closing up hundreds of locations just this year. You got Walgreens closing over 150 stores. You got Macy's closing over 100 stores. Foot Locker closing over 400 stores. CVS Pharmacy is closing 900 stores. Family Dollar closing 600 stores. Rue 21 closing 540 stores. I mean, the list goes on and on, from Best Buy, Dollar Tree, Express. Even Walmart is closing down 7 of its supercenters. On top of that, you have the major layoffs. Like Google done already laid off almost 12,000 people. eBay just laid off 1,000 people. Microsoft just laid off 1,900 people. UPS just laid off 12,000 people. Like, bro, it's only May. Even Tesla is laying off over 10% of its entire workforce. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Apple, a company that's worth $2 trillion, is closing 400 of its retail locations this year. I couldn't even tell y'all what all of that means, because truthfully, I don't even know myself. But if you anybody like me, you will find it ironic that it's all happening at once. But y'all let me know what y'all think.
Now that I left the United States, this is the main thing that I realized. The United States be bullshitting us. They be literally capping, they be lying, they be fabricating, they literally lie to us our whole damn life. Do you know, when I was in New York, in America, I used to research where to go, how to go to Thailand, how to go to Bali, how to go to all these damn countries. And do you know what I found out? All these countries are very dangerous. Don't even step foot in Thailand because you're gonna get robbed. This is the most dangerous place you're ever gonna be at. Yeah, I've been here for almost 3 to 4 months. I've been in Bangkok, I've been in Chiang Mai, I've been in damn Pattaya. Yeah, nobody's arguing, nobody's fighting, nobody's dangerous out here. There is nobody killing, nothing, zero, nada, nothing what the hell they told me that was gonna happen in America. And I came over here and it didn't happen. They're lying to us. But one problem is the news. Did you ever realize on the news, when have they ever spread positivity about somewhere? If you are watching the news and it's talking about a different country or a different place, is it good news or is it bad news? So again, if you want to continue getting brainwashed by the United States, if you want to continue listening to the news and listening to what the hell they got orchestrated over there, yeah, you're going to get brainwashed and you're going to be living in the past. I was in Brooklyn, New York. I was in America. I left America. Way much better living, but stay over there if you want.
In my first political science class, I had a professor who told me, you all will see the fall of the U.S. in your lifetime. That scared the shit out of me at the time. But as I went on and I got my degree and I lived a little bit of life, I realized what he was saying. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this now. When he was describing the imminent fall of the U.S., he described it like this. There is a person who has chopsticks for legs. They grow and grow and grow and grow until the chopsticks can no longer support them. And to survive, they have to eat themselves. So they start with like maybe eating a hand, and then the hand turns into an arm, and then the arm turns into maybe their torso, and so on and so forth. The U.S. is at that point where it is eating itself to save itself. And one of the ways in which the U.S. is eating itself is through public education, or the lack thereof. About 30 years ago, the way that children learn to read in the U.S. changed. It switched from a more phonetic way of learning to read to a more whole or complete method of learning to read. In short, children just learn sight words. They really never learn the science behind reading. And that seems fine and dandy until 30 years later, we have the lowest test scores we've seen in decades as far as math and ELA, English Language Arts. So now you have a very uneducated population, which, for whatever reason, 30 years ago, the U.S. was willing to sacrifice the education of the population. Which, if you know why, because there's always a reason why they do these things, please comment below or stitch this, because I've been trying to figure it out, but I'm kind of stumped. All that to say, I think it's very clear that the U.S. has began and has been eating itself to preserve itself. That makes sense. I'm interested to see how all of this plays out, and I'm also a little nervous because we have a general population that is less educated than they could or should be. And an uneducated group of people are bound to self-destruct.
Total societal collapse. And not a single person seems to care.
I was having my weekly meltdown with my therapist, as one does, while the world is burning. And I was like ranting and raving about how everything is terrible. I was saying like a lot of the same stuff she's talking about in this video. And my therapist asked me, she was like, what do you want to see? Like, in your dreams, what do you want to happen? And I literally said, I want it all to fall apart. This system is broken. The way that we exist is unsustainable. This is not normal. It's not how we're supposed to be as humans. We live in a supremely corrupt system, and I want it all to burn. And my therapist, I swear to God, I was like, does she think I'm insane? And I will say I love my therapist. She's wonderful, and she definitely supported me in that moment. But like in the back of my mind, because I have anxiety and neurodivergence, I'm like, oh my God, does my therapist think I'm nuts? Because that's like an objectively crazy thing to wish for. And everything is terrible right now. But the one optimism that I remain that like keeps me going is that when this all falls apart, which it inevitably will, and it's honestly looking like sooner rather than later at this point, is that something better will emerge. She goes on to say that like revolutions take decades. And they do. But I'm like supremely optimistic that this generation of people like me and people like Bryn and people like the students on college campuses all over the country and all over the world will know better than our ancestors and will build something better. A society rooted in community and care and looking after each other and doing favors and not built on wealth extraction and exploitation and capitalism. I don't have any answers, but this video is really validating to hear somebody else echo my same sentiments because it sounds a little crazy when you say it out loud. And I just really hope that things get better.
America's economy is going to collapse in the next 30 years. And no, I didn't say this. I actually think it's going to collapse sooner. So apparently, Mr. Powell went on 60 Minutes last night, the night before, a couple days ago, whatever, and basically said that short term, things are fine, money-wise, in the United States of America. But 30 years from now, that's when we should expect to see absolute heck on earth take place in the United States of America, primarily because of the national debt that we have, which is caused primarily from the Fed, Congress, public servants, and just spending in America in general. So basically, this means that all the decisions they're making short term is to kind of get us through this. And by the time these people retire, they don't have to take any accountability for anything that they've contributed to in the United States of America. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. America's economy is going to collapse in the next 30 years. And no, I didn't say this. I actually think it's going to collapse sooner. So apparently, Mr. Powell went on 60 Minutes last night, the night before, couple days ago, whatever, and basically said that short term, things are fine, money-wise, in the United States of America. But 30 years from now, that's when we should expect to see absolute heck on earth take place in the United States of America, primarily because of the national debt that we have, which is caused primarily from the Fed, Congress, public servants, and just spending in America in general. So basically, this means that all the decisions they're making short term is to kind of get us through this. And by the time these people retire, they don't have to take any accountability for anything that they've contributed to in the United States of America. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments.
So if you're an American citizen, there's a high probability you're a little bit nervous about what's going to happen to America. There's no question that we are in a moment of crisis in this country. It seems that no matter what the topic, whether it's healthcare, wars, inflation, AI, government, nothing's going well. And there is a lot of unrest, which almost feels like it could be leading towards rebellion of sorts. I mean, the Block 2024 movement feels like it has that energy. And so if you're worried and wondering what's going to happen, I have a book that you should read. It's called The Fourth Turning. It's by William Strauss and Neil Howe. The full title is called The Fourth Turning, An American Prophecy, What the Cycles of History Tell Us About America's Next Rendezvous with Destiny. So Strauss and Howe are both historians, and they look back over 500 years, studied 500 years of American history, and discovered 4 distinct patterns or cycles in our history, each cycle lasting about 25 years, what they call turnings. So I'm going to share what those 4 cycles are and where we are at in those cycles. So the first cycle is called a high, and it's a time of expansion. The second cycle is the awakening. That is a time of spiritual awareness and rebellion. The next is the unraveling. This is where individualism trumps capitalism and institutions. And the fourth turning is the crisis. This is a perilous time in history, which really determines where America goes at that juncture. Obviously, the crisis is the moment we are now in our 4 cycles. How we handle it will determine what happens to our republic. While this moment in history may feel a little bit bleak, I feel like there are positives that can come from it. And I see it here on TikTok every single day. And it's that of citizen activism. Typically, in these turnings, when America rallies, when its citizens rally, it becomes a better nation. Our nation is a great nation because its citizens have risen up, spoken up, rallied together, worked together to find better times, solutions to problems that we face. And I think in general, this book is good because it's good to know our own history, to know how these cycles play out. So if you need a good book to read, it's called The Fourth Turning by William Strauss and Neil Howe. If you read it, let me know what you think.
I've got to get the fuck out of this country. I owe the government $11,000 because I, according to them, made too much money and need to pay back my healthcare premium that they gave me through healthcare.gov. $11,000. So I decided to do a little bit of researching myself. I called my primary care doctor and I wanted to ask them a couple of questions. The first question that I asked them is, what is the cost of a wellness visit for a child? That cost, they told me, was $120. I then asked them, well, what is the cost of visits, like if you're sick? They said $110. So I then asked them, what if you are an adult and you want to come in for a physical, what does that cost? They said $150. So I started math. I paid $400 a month to have my healthcare insurance last year. The government decided that they gave me roughly $800 in premiums, too much. So they want me to pay $1,200 a month to have healthcare insurance. So I started doing the math. I also had a $50 copay. So you mean to tell me, if it was a wellness child visit, the insurance company was paying $70 a month. And for me as an adult, they were paying, it was $150, so $50 copay, $100 a month. Hold on. The math ain't mathin'. So I said to the government, you want me to pay $1,200 a month so that you can pay my doctor's visits $70. I still pay $50 copay. And that's just to make sure that I'm healthy. Now I get it. Health insurance is for just in case you're not healthy. Let me tell you a different story. When we first moved to Arizona, we didn't have health insurance, and my husband ended up going to the ER. You know how much the ER visit cost him without health insurance? Roughly $5,000. But wait. Hold on. This is the best part. I promise. Stick around. So we ended up contacting the hospital and letting them know that we actually didn't have health insurance at the time. We were waiting to get health insurance. And do you know what they did? They reduced his rate to a non-insured rate. And guess what the cost was? They wrote it off. We're not even done. So I got hit by a car last year, right? And at this point, we did have health insurance. So I went to the same ER. Do you know how much my bill was because I had health insurance? My bill ended up being $3,000. And because I had health insurance, they wouldn't write it off. Now here's the thing, even as a therapist, that people aren't aware of. My rate for self-pay is actually cheaper than the rate for insurance companies. So like if you have a deductible, you pay higher when you use your insurance. So I canceled my insurance this year.
That is it for today. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and like, comment, and subscribe down below, and see you in the next video.